So welcome, Felcha. My name is Tara, and I'm a facilitator, an alchemist, a mystic, Bandri. It's someone that honors the ancient arts of Ireland. And I've been a facilitator of very transformational retreats in the past, and that will continue in different forms in the future. But here and now, I'm just sharing what feels really resonant in this time. And there's been various times where I felt this like wave rising up of the keen, of the kina. It's a sounding of grief, of just honoring where we each are as individuals and how we carry grief in our bodies, and not just from this lifetime, but it can be from several lifetimes. It can be from the ancestors, it can be from the land, be many things. And ultimately, it doesn't actually matter where the grief is coming from or what it's about. It's actually what matters is the honoring. It's simply the honoring and simply the acknowledgement. And that in itself is really, really powerful. And I'm very, very grateful that I've had the opportunity to sit with an elder, Phillida Anam, and she is an Irish elder from Donegal, and I was very grateful to meet her in Edinburgh, in Scotland, after going across the world and into the jungle and connecting with elders there, to come home and to Scotland at that time. To find an Irish elder making the sounds that sounds so familiar to me, but I had no reference for it from my own upbringing. And so she was a witness to a lot of my grief and rage as well, and helped me to learn how to sound that more. And she taught me as well about the importance of witnessing. And the importance of witnessing is simply being with. And that's something for me, if all that you take away from today is about this being with what is, that for me is more than enough. Because it's not about trying to like dig up the shadow and trying to churn anything up. It's just being with what is already there and having I guess, that willingness and that compassion within to just allow what is to be there without trying to fix, without trying to push anything away, without trying to push anything down. And what I'm feeling very strongly as well is to share a little bit about the body as well. So actually, I'm a body worker as well. And many people I see here in this call are as well. And one thing that Phillida shared with me as well was about pain in the body. And she always said that pain was grief in the body that hasn't yet healed. It's like the body is trying to get your attention, it's trying to get you to listen. And whenever you listen to what the body is trying to teach you, then the pain will leave. And Finn's just made a big, that's my dog, a big sound to that. And one of the other aspects of that as well is in the Irish language, it's very, very telling as well compared to the English language. Because the English language identifies with the feeling. So I am sad, I am grieving. It becomes it becomes about me. It becomes this identification with the feeling and this enmeshment. with the feeling. Like, do we do that with the weather? I don't think so. We know that the weather is out there, and yeah, it affects our inner weather as well. Like, we're tend to find our inner weather a lot more pleasant when it's sunny, don't we? Than when it's raining. But with the Irish language, it's like grief is with me, it's on me. I'm wearing it just now. Just like the rain's just happening just now. It's more about just now. It's very, very present. And it's the same with anger, it's the same with any feelings. It's this is on me. This is with me. And as well as that is sitting with various plant teachers over the years as well, has been that you can't run from anything. It will always follow you until you drop down to be with it. And that's something that's in this day and age, it's something of a turning in. And we'll bring that a little bit in the meditation in a moment as well. You know, it's a turning, I feel like the turning in is a turning on as well. It's like, I'm here for whatever is throwing itself at me in life at this time. And with that, it allows the expansion into the pleasure as well as the pain, that there's not one without the other. And that's something that I love about the work of Francis Weather as well, who speaks a lot of grief and grief ritual as well. You know, about how on one hand there's gratitude, and on the other hand there's grief. And if we can hold them both, rather than trying to grasp onto one or be weighed down by the other, to just allow that expansiveness of our being into welcoming it all. So before we go into the meditation, because we don't have Padma or Magdalena with us today in the hosting, so Morgan has very, very kindly offered herself to host. And so what that means is, of course, after the meditation, if there's any questions at all that pop up for you, if you pop them in the chat box, I won't be paying attention to it because it will completely break the flow of what's coming. But Morgan will be paying attention to it. And then towards the end, the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, we'll leave space to answer questions there. So just as they come in, feel free to pop them in. But it's really about something more experiential here rather than knowledge or trying to learn a thing. That's not what this is. And I will share a little bit more about why that's important as well after the meditation. Again, it's just a short meditation, 5 minutes or so. Like any session will always begin on the meditation, so we can just come in, tune into the frequency together, come into the bodies, let go of anything where we have been, and just coming into here. So no pressure if you don't have the words, Morgan, but I don't. So I'm going for some help, please, to introduce a little bit about
no. Hi, everyone. So Tara is doing this workshop, or this series of workshops in collaboration with Dharma Stars. I recognise I'm a student of Dharma Stars. I've done quite a lot of their courses, and I recognise Sarah, I recognise Kath. So I don't know if any of you have done any courses from Dharma Stars before, but they're really, Padma's amazing, really high level teaching on a whole array of different subjects. So I'm going to pop the link for that in the chat so that you can go and have a look and see if you're interested in any of the other courses. And Padma has a book out as well called Caoine Weaving Keys to a Golden Age. So I will put that in the chat as well. And just as Tara said, if you have any questions, I'll be keeping track of that, and I'll read them out to Tara later on. Okay.
Thanks, Morgan.
Cheers.
And yeah, I'm very grateful to Padma and Madalena as well for bringing this out of me. It was simply just me mentioning that it felt like it was needed in the collective, and Padma was like, "Well, let's do it then." So I'm very grateful for that because, like I said, it comes up in different waves, and it does feel like there is a wave of this coming up. And if I have time, I'd like to share with you something from a Northern Irish artist that is bringing the sound of keening, the ancient side of keening, into her music, but also bringing the modern elements of music in as well. So there's a real alchemy that is beginning to happen with the old ways and the new way. And that's something as well I want to share very openly with you all as well. What I'm sharing, I'm not saying is the way. Nobody can actually say that in regards to keening, and I will share a little bit more about the whys of that. But it is actually a mystery and a doorway into the other world itself. And that and a lot of it, because it's been through oral tradition, and because, of course, not to go into it too much, but the history that the church has had has had quite an impact on this aspect of life in this culture. But it's not just in this culture, and that's what I would love you to take away as well. It is in many cultures and different forms across the world, and there's touches of it in different languages, and it's something that's, it's not, like I said, it's not, this is not the way, it is a way, and I will share with you the whys and the hows I got to there as well today. So just a few moments to really tune in. Like what I was feeling earlier on was tuning in to this session, and if you can feel that in your own body, of just, finding comfort. I'm feeling like, yes, there's a lot of busyness and there's a lot of dizziness at the moment and discord. But just allowing that to be there and coming into the feeling of the body, the feeling of yourself in the body, your feet in the earth, and the seat in the ground. And you can let out a few sighs if it feels good for you. Taking these few precious moments. But even if there is outer turmoil or inner turmoil, or even if you're feeling quite all right, it is all welcome. And just as water always finds its way to stillness, you simply just let things be. Allow yourself to settle in your own time. There's no need to move away from a busy mind, just allowing it to be. It's like the wind and the clouds always pass. The waves can sometimes get choppy, but underneath there's a stillness and a silence that cannot be touched. Just allowing yourself, if you are feeling that spinning out or spiraling out, the invitation here is to allow yourself to spiral back inwards. It's like when you let the plug open and the water spirals down the drain. It's letting any busyness, any chaos just empty out. Simply allowing that purity that is within you space to breathe, space to be. Space to allow yourself to be here. And you can allow yourself to stay within that space if it feels right for you. And you're also welcome to come back in your own time. Acknowledging your own heart. Thank you. And just coming back when you feel right to open your eyes to the screen. There's no need. So it's interesting when we even think about this question of what is it? What is the king? It's, yes, it's a sounding, but it's much, much more than that because there's a lot of ritual around it. And like I said, we cannot know entirely what that ritual is here in Ireland and in Scotland as well. There are some cultures that may still have it a little bit more than others, but there is a core of it. And the core of it, I find, comes very, very spontaneously and very, very intuitively when there's the alliance of it. And like I was saying earlier, similar with sitting with plant medicine, it's going to come out of you at some point. And it's much healthier to allow the space for it to come out than for it to come out in weird ways. And weird ways can be in the body with pain and illness. It can come out in mental health as well. It can come out in being very disingenuous with ourselves first. So when we're disingenuous with another, it's usually coming from something in ourselves where we're not listening to something. And so for me, it's much and much about the listening as it is the sounding. And with, like I say, with the king that has remained that we know of, mostly in the Irish tradition, are actually ones that are connected to Christ and connected to the church, because at some point, as much as they tried to suppress, and they did a very good job of it, the Caoine, because they were, I can't say what they were trying to do, but they weren't happy with this happening within the funerals and within the wakes and around them. But interestingly, there was somehow emerging as well. Like there was a merging of this chanting that happened in the funerals. So there was that, and then there was also the keening. And so at some point it kind of changed over to these keens about the Marys and Christ and all of that, which is all grand too. But the core of the keening was really at the time was about the keening the over a body. It was part of the ritual of death, and it was very individual to that person that had passed. And so often they would be saying the name of the person that would passed over and over and over again, and then it would move into like a it would actually move into at some point their unfinished business, interestingly enough. And that's what I love about this as well with the invitation of Dharma stars. I also have a lot of, I would say, Buddhism in me as well, even though I don't subscribe to any religion. But what I notice is the cultures and the chanting and also the way of the death and the dying and the bardos. And so with my learning with Phillida as well around the biology of death and dying, there has been a correlation between that and the bardos in the Tibetan Buddhism as well. So I'm doing this because it's a swing of alchemy, and it's not one or the other. But there's very much a synergy that seems to happen, even including with what happened with some aspects of the church with the kina of keeping that going. So I would recommend if you wanted to go down that route, that is not the route that I will be sharing because it's not my experience. But Mary McLaughlin is a woman that is linked in the article that I have mentioned as well. And she has gone into a lot of research into this and shares some of the keens that were passed from the church as well, that are very specific structures. What I'm sharing is much more of laying the ground for you in the body and with your voice and with the space to be able to open up to that, what's called the dirge, what's called the kind of the key part of that sounding after they've spoken and sung out. That, you know, they would even say things, you know, about like, I'm not going to say, you know, you're an angry this, and you know, you were bad to this person, and da 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 da, and then all the good things as well. Like there would be a rage in it as well at times if it was needed. There's this thing where we move away from, you know, death, you know, about all of a sudden it's like they're holier than thou. But that's not the truth of it at all. None of us are, well, we're all holy. We are, but we're not all holier than thou. We're all holy. So there's this of not romanticizing it, being real about it, because what they were doing, that is actually helping the dying person as well, because whenever they are passing, well, they have passed, sorry, within those first 40 days, they're going through the bardo, so they are going through this stuff. And like I was saying before, with ourselves, of being witnessed in our unfinished business, in attending to our grief, and attending to our hurts, and attending to our wounds, and attending to our shame, attending to I'm not enough, all of it, we get to do that now rather than wait until we're on our deathbed or worse afterwards to get to the good stuff. So for me, I want to get to the good stuff now. So I tried my best to tend to the unfinished business as I go. And so the keening could then also, the dirge could then turn into these sounds that are very otherworldly, that you can't describe it. And it's like, it's very interesting having this 45 minutes to talk about keening when they're not keening. It's much easier for me to open the space to bring you into it than talk about it. It's not my way so much the talking about it. That makes sense. It's more experience and being with it in the moment. But what I'm finding as well with that is there's like a beginning and a middle and an end. There's three parts of the ritual, so there's separation, there's the liminality, and then there's a reincorporation, the coming back in. So the liminality is definitely that space where the keening is very, very active. And that traditionally would happen over the body, but it also would happen when the body was being moved from one place to another as well. And the key with this was that it was helping not only the person in their dying, for their soul to pass on and all of that, but also for the other grievers, the other mourners who may or may not join in that it would be moving the grief on behalf of the community as well. And this would have also been a very public display before the body was moved into the house or to the tomb or wherever it was going to. It would have been very public, so it wouldn't have just been for the family. It would have been, the village, the community would have heard of this as well. And so there's something in that of the togetherness of that and the health of the community and the naturalness of death as part of life. And I wonder too if this applies to us and how many little deaths do we experience in each day? How many little deaths do we experience within a relationship? Never mind if a relationship ends or when someone dies, because when someone dies as a part of us, it dies with them also. And in that as well, of course, we are in a time where we are so ultra aware of the many, excuse me if I well up a little bit in this moment, but the little deaths aren't being witnessed in these times as well. That don't have someone there crying over them. But we can allow that in ourselves as well. If we're feeling that, like I'm tuning into that just now, by tuning into that myself with that grief that is in me, that allows that soul to be witnessed. So by allowing that, our healing is their healing also. Just that intent alone to be a witness, not to be a martyr, not to be offering ourselves for someone else's pain or offering ourselves to our ancestors to cry on their behalf. I tell you now, please do not offer yourself in any way, shape, or form like that, because it's basically opening up a massive energetic back door for you to be pummeled. I tell you from experience, don't recommend it. And I'm very grateful as well to Phillida as well for helping me with that as well, because it can be a little bit of that especially with people that are going into ancestral healing and things like that. We're not here to heal our ancestors. We're here to live. We're here to live the life that they tried to pave the way for. But by honoring that grief, by honoring what's with us, they heal with us. And that's the difference. And it's a difference as well when we know of our brothers and sisters that are in many other countries in this time at the moment that are suffering, but that suffering that we feel in us, that's what we can take care of. And by doing that, that will help them tremendously. And by able to take care of that within ourselves, and this is part of, and please, Morgan, do feel free to chime in here as well with it. This is actually what frees us up. This is what frees us up to be able to become active if we need to become active about something. This is what's freed me up to be able to be here with you to share this, even though I'm feeling it too, because there's enough space for it all. It's like we can then be spacious enough to feel the clarity of how can I take action? How can I step into my sacred activism, even if it's just about making time for a cup of tea with a local elder that would be otherwise lonely. It can be small acts. It doesn't have to be shouting on social media or anything like that. And when you're also feeling really, really tired, allow that feeling of being really, really tired. You're not meant to be on all the time. And that's also why, as well, that there were usually about 3 keening women at the funerals as well, because it's a lot to keep that moving for a long period of time. So sometimes it would be in together and sometimes it would be in and out in waves. And I know this was in Ireland and Scotland. I know it's also been in Romania as well, that you had specific women that were basically hired to go to funerals, that they held this role within the village. And it was often the same women that were also midwives, both with birth and with death as well. And when we also had some men that took different roles with the bards and such like. But again, I can only speak from the experience, this lived experience in this lifetime, and what's been passed to me directly, with Phillida, with the work with the plant medicines, with the trees as well. So for instance, I'm drinking hawthorn tea, which is really, really good heart support and grief support, as well as willow as well. So yeah, it was really the plants that helped me to open up to find the voice, to allow the voice and the grief, to allow the vulnerability as well, but also allow the transformations to occur as well. So it's something that I've mentioned before here, is that I have heard this from many other facilitators as well, about how much grief is holding us back, in the collective and in our own lives as well. There's anything that we're feeling like we can't move towards, or we're stuck, is quite often because there's this unfinished business. There's this grief that has been suppressed. So in a society that is encouraging us to numb out, encouraging us to get distracted, encouraging us to be out there rather than just here. And when I say just here, it's not about navel gazing all the time and a pity party. It's not that. Like that said, that I mentioned, I forgot about that with the funerals and the wakes. Like at some point, the keening can actually become very high pitched. It can come almost, I would use the word almost angelic. It opens up to higher realms, which can also be a joy. It can be such an elation. It can be a celebration in there as well. It's not all doom and gloom. And the fact is, the one thing that we have kept to have to say in Irish funerals is, there's usually a celebration of some kind. Even I can get a bit, of the drunkenness and things like that. That's a bit new, but there is a celebratory element to it as well. And that celebration can only really come when we've emptied out. And that's what was said as well before, is like with Phillida, she passed on some of the poetry of Bridget, and one of the lines is, at the bottom of the well of grief is joy. It's the lifting up. And so what happens in society is we're trying to lift up our dopamine levels all the time instead of actually coming into the togetherness. And into the togetherness, then the oxytocin, the happy hormone, starts to kick in. And we can start to balance out the cortisol in the body through the tears as well. We can start to balance a dysregulated nervous system that's trying to keep everything down through the vagus nerve, through the sounding. And so one of the areas that we often find that is very, very blocked is around the solar plexus and is around the large intestine. If we look at Chinese medicine, and the lungs, so these are areas as well that we'll be working with, emptying out on a very somatic level as well in these sessions, both on a very physical level, like certain acupuncture points as well, so that there's other ways of moving. Sometimes you might be in your flat in an Edinburgh tenement, and so a good old wail may not go down so well. Maybe a quiet wail would be all right, but a good old wail, you might need to take yourself off to the woods somewhere. But with that said, of the taking yourself off to the woods somewhere, that was even something that Phillida had shared with me, was that that wasn't usually what happened. It was usually the women in the village would take the person that was mourning out to the woods and let them scrape into the earth, let them wail, let them basically lose their SH1T, because actually sometimes you really do need to lose it to actually find yourself back into your center and back into the body as well, because this is a natural, with these little deaths, is it can take us out of the body. And ultimately, I do feel that a lot of our preparation in life is for death. And that's what plant medicine has taught me a lot about as well. And so the more we can allow space for it to happen, and what I'll be sharing with you is some tools to allow that, so that it's not about turning up and saying, right now I'm going to keen. It doesn't really work that way. But if you can feel it coming, you know what to put in place to allow that to come. And whether that's, I've only got 5 or 10 minutes before I have to get out the door here, but there's nothing more important than being with that in that moment, is to be able to light the candle, put your shawl on, whatever it is that's needed to allow that to move. So before we open up to other questions as well, I just wanted to say as well, within these sessions, of course, if it does move in you within the space of the sessions, which it is just under the surface. So if you're feeling it right now, you know, it's here, it's very, very welcome. And that there will be a space for that together as well as it comes. Because this is what I feel is missing, is that we're all in these little pods. I see you on these little screens just now, in our houses, on our own, and it can feel really, really, really heavy when we're on our own with it. But it doesn't have to be a heavy weight. When it's shared and we just let it to move for ourselves, with ourselves, we are doing that for each other, and then we're doing that for the collective as well. And hopefully this works just now. Before we move into questions, I just wanted to share with you this music that has some keening in it. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. Ho, 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 no.
Oh ho ho no, que so ho no, que you were my avo avo, avo avo, yes avo avo, avo
Beautiful. And so, yeah, even playing a track such as that and allowing yourself a few moments to be moved by it. And even in that is very powerful within itself. So we don't always have to go to the full catharsis. There are always steps in between, just like the keen is a step in between. It's a coming into a very liminal space. Hmm. So yeah, I'd love to hear if there's anything to share, any questions on that. Like I say, it's very hard. It's like pouring the ocean into a teacup. It's very hard to share on something that's really quite a mystery and takes time. So funny enough, when I was mentioning about this at the time with Pama, I'm like, we need 3 sessions. Like you can't just dive into this stuff. It's there's an unraveling, there's a spiraling in towards it without any force. But here we are, we're having 3 sessions. So this is an intro so that we can dive in a little bit deeper when we do meet. And for those that you can't, at least you've got a bit of a taster with it. So Morgan, was there anything that came up with the questions?
There isn't too many questions in the chat box. Joanna was wanting some clarification. No, sorry, Lexi was wanting some clarification on when you were talking about offering yourself up as a martyr. Don't do that.
Yeah. So we want some clarification. So you can keep me right here, Lexi, with your question if I answer it. So there's quite a lot. It's very easy for us to be pulled into the collective field at the time, especially when there's so much on social media, there's so much on the news that is calling for our attention. But if we're quite honest, if we're really tuned in, we don't need the news or social media to know. I mean, people knew what was going on a long time ago before social media and the news. So for me, that's a lot more of that interesting space that we're in modern life is, let's say, and I'm very careful with my words at the minute, but there's a lot of I should be doing something when we don't actually have the capacity for it genuinely, rather than just actually being with it. It's like I said before, being with it within ourselves will, when we move through that, then we have the capacity to take the action and the appropriate action that is what we're designed for, because everyone here has a different role in life, just like there's different roles within the hive of bees, that we're not all meant to be out catching the pollen at the same time, and some of us aren't even supposed to be out catching the pollen. We spend all our lives in the hive. There's a real, when we look at nature, there's such something that really reminds of beyond the individual. And so what I see has seen a lot as well with my work with plant medicines, and some of you have been with me on this one, I'm saying is like, when you're making your intention, don't make your intention for the healing the ancestors, don't make your intention for healing the collective. Certainly if you feel like you want to send say a prayer for them, absolutely. But actually the most impactful is if you can really come into the love in your heart. And that is the most powerful force that there is. Even if you don't have any words in a moment, that's actually way more powerful than words. And so there can be a lot of this as well in the world of being of service. I'm offering myself in service to what? Who? Very careful. Be very careful, because there's a lot of energetic back doors that can be opened up when we're not watching. Like for me, whenever I'm facilitating, I have a very strong intention, and I also know where my devotion lies and where I'm getting my instructions from. And then that impacts everything else. So it's much more centered, it's much more grounded, it's much more connected than getting pulled this way and that way into what we're feeling is in the collective, or what we're feeling might be a client or a friend or a lover or a family member that's pulling or tugging on our energy. Is that the best way they can be? We can be with them as if we're with ourselves, and being with ourselves, and we have the capacity to be with them also. And that's something, again, that Phillida taught me so much about being present. Just as an example of, if people came in late, nobody looked up and started looking at the person coming in and them saying sorry and all that. She's like, nonsense, none of that. You're welcome. Just come on in, just sit down. Because if we're looking at that person coming in, we're abandoning ourselves already, because there's a lot of social norms, like I say, or actually we're teaching ourselves to abandon ourselves. Just like in the funerals and things, where it wouldn't be okay to allow a wail or to allow a big cry nowadays. But that's entirely natural for that to well up in the moment. So that was one of the things. Again, I seem to be talking a lot more about Phillida today than I normally do. So I'm very grateful for her. But like she would say that, what's natural is not, or what's normal is not natural. And yeah, and so and I know that the word martyrdom is coming up a lot in these times as well. And there's a lot of, shall I say, belief systems attached to that wording. There's a lot of, I'm going to say the word indoctrination, especially for women in certain roles of what they have to be or what they should be doing. And again, it's just coming back to center, and the more that we clear away within ourselves the unprocessed pain, unprocessed shame, all those things are actually driving our behavior and driving our want and desire. to help that other, but actually it's to escape from something in ourselves. And then we can really come into true service. So I suspect, not that I want to speak for Padma here because I can't, but Morgan can keep me right as well. I suspect that's part of what Padma was seeing as well in the bigger picture of this, with the space for the art of keening and for grief rituals and for sounding the grief, is because of these little subtle things that can come in that can make us slip into martyrdom, that can make us slip into a role that's not ours to be in. And also that just because we're in a particular role at a particular time doesn't mean that we need to be like that all of the time. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question. There might be like an Irish thing that I tend to do, a lot of threads there. But I hope that's clear enough.
And Joanna actually has just left the call because she has to put her boys to bed. But it's not so much a question, but she was just commenting on how it's difficult to find space to be able to express this. It can be challenging in modern times. We've been removed from it, and we need more community with this to learn to feel comfortable with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so yeah, I would love to offer that space here, of course, and then see where that takes us. See where that takes us. If I know of other people that are holding this work in different ways as well. Some are more in person locally, and some are online as well. But I do feel like that's why it's coming up in the arts, in the music as well. It's time, absolutely, time for it, and there's a reason why we had this togetherness in community before, and there's also a reason why in modern society it's encouraged, that separation and that divisiveness is encouraged, because it allows unhealthy systems to continue. But the way to unravel the unhealthy systems is to take care of that unfinished business in ourselves, and then we know how to take that loving action that is needed in the right time, when we are in the right place ourselves for that. And in that, like I said at the beginning, the witnessing is so powerful in itself, and just being felt, being seen, being heard in this, even if you don't utter a word, that's priceless. So yeah, I thank all of those beings, human and non-human, that have been there for me and continue to be there for me. And I hope that for each one of you, and whatever shape and form that takes, that you find that for yourself as well. And when there's not someone available there in human form, that there's a tree or a dog or a cat or a fish or whatever being may be available for you in that moment to be with. That is more than enough in that moment. So thank you so much, for everyone for joining. I really appreciate seeing your faces here, and also for those that are listening to the recording as well. And like I say, you're very, very welcome. I believe there's different payment tiers, different payment plans, and there's even donation basis if it's really, really needed, as well. So it's more about creating a space and honoring that space, and allowing them, like I say, the movement in the body and the sounding as well, that we can come into these liminal spaces together in a safe and gentle way, as well as honoring the ancient ways. So thank you so much. Take good care of yourselves. Bramor, much love. Ihuwa, good night.